Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today, Wednesday, the 20th of April in the year 2022. Welcome all. Welcome all. And you know the drill. You know the drill. Let's make sure that you share the live feed. Let others know that we're on, ready and raring to go after a long holiday weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. But don't be selfish. Share the stream. Share the stream. We know we usually have some latecomers, people who are late for duty, and you know that's a disciplinary charge. Today, as I indicated in the notification, I will continue to speak about police discipline. So some of you regulars might find yourself with a disciplinary charge sheet. I know one of my regular followers there reminded me some years ago that I had the occasion to charge him departmentally, give him a disciplinary charge sheet. He's here already on the live stream. I don't think he wants to be charged again. So encourage others to join. Normally they say, you have a grace period of a few minutes, but I can tell you in the police arrangement, when I joined the force, you have to report for duty 15 minutes before the time. So if you were rostered to perform duty from 11 o'clock, you have to make sure you fall in well prepared at quarter to 11. And some of those sergeants, old sergeants there, corporals, will want to discipline you if you did not fall in before 11 o'clock, because what happened then, they need to give you instructions and all of that, because the thing was that you are to be posted on duty. Your duty should commence at 11. And you can't want, especially if you're walking away from the station, you can't expect for your duty to commence at 11 and then you come there at 11. So you have to report for duty in those days 15 minutes before the appointed time. 15 minutes before the appointed time. So I'm not going to be that harsh with you, but I will give you a few more minutes, because I know we're all busy people, and give you some time. So those of you who are on, share the stream, share the live stream. Let people know that we are on today, and we are going to continue the discussion on police discipline. But before that, as is customary, I have a few issues that I want to bring to your attention. So let's, while we wait for others to join, let's share the stream. Let's share the stream. Let's inform others that we are on. And while we wait, I want to say belated birthday greetings to Lenny. Lenny, I realize that you celebrated a milestone not so long ago. It was remiss of me not to message you directly or to mention it on the last program. So please forgive me. When we meet, I think you might find me, and I'm going to be willing to pay the fine. So I hope you had a wonderful birthday. I know you would have. I saw the outfit, and the outfit is the outfit of the, well, not dancing master, because you know that title goes to another friend of ours, another mutual friend, the dancing master. But I'm sure perhaps you are a grade or a few grades above the dancing master. So Lenny, belated birthday greetings to you. And I wish you all the best. And I wish you health, strength, happiness, prosperity, and hope that you're around for many, many, many more birthdays. Many, many more. So having said that, we're going to wait a little while longer too, as they share the stream. Let people know that we're on. Share the stream, let people know that we're on. You know, some other programs, they would have gone to commercial and give you the opportunity to share while you're on commercial. We don't have commercial, so I will just have to fill in the gap with some chit-chat while people join us. I realize that people are coming on all the time. The numbers are mounting. So let's share. Let's call a friend, tell a friend that we're on this morning for another episode of this program. I know I am encouraged. Every place I go, people meet me and people encourage me. They tell me that they look at the program. If they don't get to look at the live, they look at the YouTube, and they find it very fascinating. They find the program very interesting. I get calls, I get messages, I get texts, I get from serving members and past members of the force who encouraged me to continue to speak out, expose corruption. And some people especially some serving members, find some of the subjects very, very informative. They have said to me that they did not realize, that they did not know some of these things that I have been telling them, and they are better off. That what they have said. They are better off for it. Last week, following the program on police discipline, lots of people, many ranks, reached out to have clarification on certain issues, which questions were asked. I have made a note of some of the questions that were asked. I've made a note of some of the issues that were raised and that I was asked to discuss, and I'll attempt to go through them this morning so that you can be informed, you can be educated, you can be enlightened. So prepare for class calling. While we don't have a bell to ring, the master bell to ring to alert you that school is calling, but you are going to be told when we are going to start, so you can pull out your notebook, you can pull out your pen, and we can get started. Now, as part of the build-up, as was indicated, we have just coming off a very long weekend. Easter weekend in Guyana is the longest. It starts with Friday, Good Friday. Then we have Saturday. Then we have Sunday, which is really Easter. And then in Guyana, we have Easter Monday. Many places don't observe the Monday as a public holiday. I got a rude awakening some years ago when I went to the FBI Academy as a student there. The long weekend was coming up, and I planned that I'm going to have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It was, you can't in my eyes when I was told that Monday classes are going to be held on Monday because it's not a public holiday in the US. So I had to make sure that I was there for classes on the Monday, bright. Not a 4-day weekend there. They start on the Friday, and that's the holiday. Good Friday is the public holiday. So we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And we had lots of activities over the long holiday weekend. Now, the first thing that I should have mentioned last week too, and it slipped me, Good Friday in Guyana is a particular dastardly incident which occurred in 1993. I am referring to the death of a young lady, Monica Reece. And every year there was a time where every Good Friday or around this time, you would have articles and letters in the newspaper reminding readers of what took place on that fateful night. So you had this incident where this young lady was killed and thrown into the street in Main Street, Bright Main Street, on Good Friday 1993. And I recall reading an article some time ago where, as recent as 2021, last year, the crime chief made a statement indicating that progress was being made with this investigation, because they say that the matter is not closed. Every so often you hear that the matter is not closed, but we're talking about an incident that occurred 29 years ago. So I don't know how the cold case unit is handling that. I recall too that people used to remind the then commissioner, and even when he ceased to be commissioner, Mr. Larry Lewis, I had made a statement that no stone will be left unturned to get to the bottom of this murder. So another Good Friday has come and gone. The matter is still to be resolved. No one has been charged. With this incident here, all kind of rumors. People speculate, people indicate that, and all policemen will tell you that they had suspects in mind. People were arrested and then they were released, even though some suggest that there was evidence for these people to be prosecuted. But they suggest that these people were high society people of a certain class, and therefore the whole investigation was stymied because of intervention. So let's make sure that that is not swept under the carpet. Even though 29 years have passed, one hopes that at some stage this matter can still be brought before the courts. Because 29, when you look at some of these court cases in the United States, with emerging technology and all of that. Years after, sometimes these cases are solved. People are solved. People are successfully prosecuted. So let's hope that we are at that stage where this matter can be solved. So I just want to remind us of that Good Friday. And one of the things that, one of the positive things for me over the weekend was the performance of our young athletes at the Carifta Games. You know, I followed the performance, people gold medals, and other medals were won. I think when you look at the table of medals, Guyana was right up 3 or 4 somewhere there. You know, Jamaica dominates in athletics, not only in the region, but in the world. We know they're the sprint kings and queens of the world. So we have not done as well in athletics. So when we have these things to celebrate, we should celebrate. I recall, and the records will show that we had one medal at the Olympic level. Mike Paris won a bronze in boxing. And at the Commonwealth Games level, we have had quite a few. I remember Alian Pompey winning gold, and later on coming back to win bronze, not at the same meeting, but at the next Commonwealth Games. So she has the distinction of winning a gold and a bronze at Commonwealth. Then we had the triple jumper not so long ago. And we have had some athletes who have gone there in the international arena and have done well. I always remember when it comes to athletics and Olympic in particular, we had James Ren Gilks many years ago. He was the man who we felt would have won our first gold medal, or our first medal at the Olympics. But because of the Cold War and politics, there was a boycott on that Olympic when he was expected to do well, because he was running fantastic times in all the meetings leading up. And he was, it was felt that if not gold, he would have been able to mount the medal dais and do Guyana proud. But that is what it was. He did not get to do that. And it was not until, I think it was 4 years later, when Paris won the bronze medal in boxing. So I think we need to celebrate these athletes. This is unfortunate that the performance of the athletes is overshadowed by the controversy surrounding monies for COVID testing for meal during the latter part of their stay in Jamaica. It is so unfortunate. We should be celebrating. The country should be celebrating these people, should hold them up on a pedestal. They have done exceedingly well, these young people. And as I've said, it is unfortunate that there is this distraction about monies, whether there was need for money, and all the negative or the negativity that spills off of that, and really detracting from the performance of these athletes. So I want to take this opportunity on this program to congratulate them all and to say, keep your head, forget about all the distraction. Forget about the bad experiences you might have had, because I am sure that you would have had some very, very pleasant experiences. Very pleasant. I was fortunate. I've been to 4 Commonwealth Games, and I know the mere participation or the mere attendance at those games is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And don't let that daunt you. Don't let your spirit be daunted by the negativity that has come out in respect to this COVID test, money for COVID tests, and the money for meals and all that. Use that to strengthen your resolve. But my only disappointment in this whole thing, and I need to mention it, I did mention it years ago among friends and that, is the fact that we seem not to be able, when I say we're referring to Guyana, whether it's the Olympic Association, whether it's the Amateur Athletics Association, we seem not to be able to standardize the uniform that our athletes wear when they go abroad. I looked at a photograph on social media. The athletes, the Carifta athletes I'm referring to, they're all decked out in a white. Don't get me wrong, they look good in the white. A white tracksuit type of outfit they have on. They look good in it. But when you look at Jamaica, for example, Every time someone represents Jamaica in athletics, whether it's track and field, whether it's shooting that I was involved in, whether it's boxing, whether they always wear their colors. They always wear, they stand out with the Jamaican colors. I have been to 4 Commonwealth Games, and every time you go to the games, it's a different outfit that you wear. Come on. Whoever is responsible should make sure that at least in that respect, there is some standardization in the uniform. I mean, the designs might vary from tournament to tournament, but the colors should remain constant. The national colors should be very prominent in the outfit that is athletes. So when you look at a picture, you know that these people are Guyanese. They are representing Guyana. Unfortunately, the picture that is circulating in the white outfit does not give you the immediate impression, unless you read the caption, that these are athletes representing Guyana. And I'm sure they did so proudly. So that is something that we need to address. I noted a prominent sport journalist up to recently was talking about the sport policy. I suspect, I believe, and I urge that when the policy is written, then all of that, things like uniform, should be part of the sport policy. So once again, congratulations to those young athletes. And as they say, the sky is the limit. You have now started, and I encourage you to continue living your dream. Continue to live your dreams. Now, the next thing that I want to refer to, you as a retiree, you get the opportunity to go to media, you go to social media, you read newspapers, and you try to keep abreast with the news. One of the activities at each time in Guyana is the Rupununi Rodeo. So I think that in 2020, because of COVID, and then again last year, COVID again, I don't think the activity was held. But this year, you had the Rupununi Rodeo. And I saw several pictures, but this particular one, the president is there, as he's expected to be there to participate in the rodeo. But I saw, what I'm referring to is a picture, I saw the commissioner acting. And I say acting, this is not to legitimize the position, because I have indicated before, and I still hold the view that the position, the manner in which it was done is illegal. But I saw the commissioner acting decked out in full uniform. And the first question that sprung to mind is that, is he on duty? What is the nature of his duty at the rodeo in uniform? Because if the commissioner of police is in uniform, then one can safely assume that he is on duty. So if you are at the rodeo and you're on duty, what was the nature of the duty at the rodeo? Pray, sir, can you please, not necessary for the viewers, for all police like me who look at the significance of these things, perhaps you might want to enlighten me as to what was the role, fully decked out in uniform, at the rodeo at Rupununi. So I observed that, and I thought it was important enough to make this comment, because I see these symbols are significant. When you see a commissioner of police in uniform at a particular place, it should interest you, because first thing it suggests that he is on duty. He is on duty, the full force of his office. The man is there fully regaled with his cane and all of that. So I just curious to know what was the nature of the duty at the rodeo. Somebody suggested to me when I raised the question Monday, somebody said maybe he went there to act. But he's acting commissioner, but I don't know what other acting they're talking about. If they meant that he was there to perform at the rodeo, I don't know if he did, but it was noticeable to me and many others, because people said yes, they saw it, and they also wanted to know what was that all about. And then, leading up to Easter, there were lots of photo ops of kite being shared, police sharing kite, government official, opposition people, everybody sharing kite. Because let's face it, Easter Monday is perhaps the biggest family event in Guyana. Easter Monday. People look forward to that. And now that you had 2 years, 2020, 2021, where activity was seriously curtailed because of COVID, people came out, or people went out in their numbers to celebrate Easter Monday. So you could imagine my shock and surprise when I saw circulating on social media that there is a curfew from 8 p.m. that night. So in other words, whoever, well, I never, it was never confirmed to me. It was suggested that the instruction came from the high command of the police. I wasn't able to confirm that. But there was this thing saying that at 8 p.m. on the night, Monday night, all activities must cease. All Easter activities must cease. Well, when I saw it as an old operational man, I said, well, an old commander, operational TSU and all of that, I thought to myself, well, how is that going to be enforced? You have thousands and thousands of people all over, seawall, open spaces, places like 63 Beach. You have thousands and thousands of people here. And when this thing came out, I was taken by surprise. But then I should not have, because the people who are running the show, I have referred to many of them as being incompetent, which they are. And if it is if they are the ones who came out with this half-brain idea, pity them, pity us as Guyanese. And then what happened? At 3-something the afternoon, same Monday afternoon, I saw a frantic effort. A statement reported to have been made by His Excellency that there's no curfew. People should continue to enjoy their activities. There's no curfew. And people ask me, people call me to find out how sincere were these people when they were giving out kites and all of that. You're giving people kite to fly. Given that you might want to argue that 8 o'clock in the night is dark and people don't fly kite. I know people fly kite all night, You drive around in certain areas, you can hear the kite singing in the air all night. They just leave it up and they drive all night. So maybe you're not actually targeting the actual kite flying, but you intended to target the activities that are associated with kite flying, the music, partying, and all of that. So the thing came out, no curfew. But I say this to educate and to inform that even if, let's say, the administration of the force, or even if the commissioner acting, or even if there's a commissioner substantive, decides for whatever reason that there is going to be a curfew, for whatever reason. Friends, you don't operate just like that. You can't just send out Monday, that curfew Monday. There's a legal process to be gone through. There's a legal process to be gone through. So again, because you have people who don't know, people who perhaps don't ask questions and be guided as to how these things are done, believe that they have all the powers. So you can decide curfew, 8 o'clock tonight, all activities must cease. And then the president came in, as I said, the knight and the shining armor, and saved the day for many people. Well, he didn't really save the day for the revelers. I think he saved the day for the people who came up with that half-brain idea. Because as I've said before, I wanted to see how they would have reinforced that. And the question too was asked. There was a show at the stadium, reggae show. There was no restriction in that. People partying until bored wife wake, so to speak. There was another show at the National Park. What they call it, the old people show, McCarthy Garden. Mostly when you look at the turnout there, the old people can't tell the youth people, the youth them anything, because I think he was suggesting, based on the photo that was posted, photograph that was posted, that their numbers were as large or perhaps even larger than the young people show. So you have these issues, and I hope that this is used as a training, as a teaching, as a learning experience. These things are not done like that. They are not done like that. But let me say this too, having regards to what transpired. If it was that the police administration or the commissioner made this decision for this thing to end at 8 o'clock, and then the president intervened and the president said, look, that will not happen. People will remain there. I suspect the fact that even the acting commissioner, he put the hand out and he get lashed, whoops, pull it back in, then he's likely to become even more timid and make sure that nothing is done without the sanction, without the explicit go-ahead from the powers that be. Because I suspect this was the first time since he get this illegal acting thing that he attempted to do something. And that's if it's him that did it. Because as I've said, the suggestion is that the police, and it can't be police without the involvement of the commissioner, because I don't think any divisional commander can make such a decision by himself. So let me get that straight. Let us get that straight. In any event, you're talking about curfew. As I recall the law, the commissioner of police has to be the one to go through the legal process to have that done. So these are some of the things that, and of course, during the night, Easter night, fatal accidents. I think there were 2. The man who was killed at the Ogle Embankment Road, Ogle and Embankment motorcyclist, killed on the spot, I understand. The same night, woman at Monrepos crossing the road, struck and killed. And the sad part about that one is that the relatives are claiming that she had a large sum of money with her and people stole the money. Again, I say that we have to be very careful, extremely careful when we use the roadways. People use these roadways anyhow. And we all have a responsibility, all categories, because we all use the road, whether we are drivers, whether we are cyclists, whether we are pedestrians, we all use the road, and we all have a responsibility to make sure that we use the roads in a very safe and responsible manner. And again, I want to say to the traffic chief, this is what you have to focus on, how the roads are being used by all categories. And therefore, again, I'm reminded about the statement about vendors at intersections and beggars. I said before, I'm repeating it, that indicates to me that the focus is wrong. The priority is wrong. You're going to always have limited resources, always have limited resources, but you have to be very deliberate in how those resources are deployed. And I am suggesting that if you're going to deploy the limited traffic resources or any resource towards dealing with beggars at intersection and people peddling their stuff at intersection, something got to be wrong in the old thinking, something has to be wrong with the system. So those are my openers for this morning. As I indicated, let me continue to deal with the police discipline, and during the process, for those persons who have asked questions during the week, I have made a note of those questions, and I will address those questions. You recall when we dealt with it last week, I dealt with the investigation, who can investigate. I dealt with other matters. Let me pull up my note. I dealt with all the allegations, who can investigate. I talk about the breach of discipline notice, which is a precursor more or less to the investigation. That must be done before. I told him about that. I told you about the service of the charge sheet on the person who's alleged to have committed the offense, known as the defaulter. I also told you about the endorsement on the charge. Now, so let me pick up from there. Now, what I should also indicate to you, that when the charge sheet is served, and the law says that the charge sheet should be, or the officer in charge should cause the charge sheet to be served on the defaulter, and it says together, the charge sheet together with all documents intended to be used at the inquiry. All documents intended to be used at the inquiry. Let me explain that. So take out your notebook. Class, call in. Class call in, take out your notebooks. And there's been over the years, there has been a controversy as to what documents should be served. And the reason why there's this controversy, my view is that people mix up with a disciplinary inquiry and a trial at the magistrate court. They get mixed up. A disciplinary inquiry, even though some of the rules of the magistrate, chapter 1002, there is the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act, are to be followed. All the rules are not followed in a disciplinary inquiry. All the rules are not quite. So they get this thing now about serving of document. They talk about full disclosure. Now let me address that part of it. The law says that you must serve all documents intended to be used at the inquiry. So the question, therefore, what are documents? And I was taught that documents are things like extracts of the diary. You might have extracts of the property book. And the main issue here is it relates to statement. Now, a person gives a statement, a witness, a person who's a witness in the matter gives a statement. People say, well, there's a document. Well, that cannot be a document. According to the law, that cannot be a document because you cannot tender that by itself. The person who gave the statement has to present himself at the inquiry to be examined, to be cross-examined, and to be re-examined. So the only time I know, the only type of statements that are tendered are caution statements. And of course, I'm not going to go into that because this is not a criminal law discussion, but the caution statement has to adhere to the judge's rule. And that is tendered. But you cannot tender a witness statement and have it accepted and in inquiry. Even in the court, you can't just tender a witness statement. The person has to come. He gave a statement of what transpired. That person has to go into the witness box, tell his story, and be subjected to cross-examination and re-examination at some stage if necessary. So I know that the documents in an inquiry or the documents referred to in chapter 1701 are documents that are intended to be used in the inquiry, and those documents are extracts and the like. Extracts and the like, those should be served on the defaulter or the person who's alleged to have committed the offenses at the same time when the charge is served. That is what the law says. That is what the law says. Now, the next thing about the service of about at that time, the law also says that no inquiry, no disciplinary inquiry can commence within 48 hours of the service of the charge sheet, unless the defaulter or the person who is charged consents to that. So the person gets the charge, 48 hours must elapse before you can talk about conducting an inquiry, unless the person waives that right. And I used to get good fun when I was a trial officer conducting inquiry. You get a man absent for a long time and he's charged or absent from duty. Because what used to happen, and people might question the legality of it, but this is what we call, back in the day, I see Sagi and Ulrich and those people are online, we used to call police rascality. Police rascality. And what happened? A man absent all the time, you get charges, sometimes 3-4 charges pile up. He ain't coming to answer the charge. He reporting sick. He doing all manner of nonsense. Or according to one Nyland Wells, he doing all manner of nonsenseness. And then payday comes around. Oh boy, payday comes around. The person turns up to be paid. Right? Turns up to be paid. The charges are there. So he accepts the service of the charges, and then he makes a request for the matters to be heard immediately, because he knows that unless those matters are, unless he pleads to those charges, he ain't drying, he ain't getting paid. He ain't getting paid. That's what them old-time sergeants, them old-time officers used to do, right? So he come and he said, well, look, he's got to waive his right because he wants the matter to be dealt with immediately. At that stage is where the rascality comes in. Sorry, son, I don't have the time now to inquire into this matter. Even to take a plea, you have to bear your chief, you have to wait a little while. So that is something that these people have to know. They have to know that no charge can commence or no inquiry can commence within 48 hours unless the person who is charged consents for that to happen. One. Now we come to who can inquire. Big controversy over the years too with that. Who can inquire? We talk about officer. It has to be a police officer to inquire. But before the officer can inquire, he has to be an ex officio justice of the peace. So not every officer can inquire. You are gazetted as an assistant superintendent and above, but you have to go before the magistrate and take the oath of office and be sworn as an ex officio justice of the peace. And why? Because once you are conducting an inquiry, you have to administer an oath. People who are coming to give evidence have to give evidence under oath. So you, the inquiring officer, has to administer the oath. So you have to have the authority to administer the oath. And more than that, if you read the same law, the law, and I'm referring it to the Police Discipline Act 1701, it says that if a person gives false evidence under oath at a disciplinary inquiry, that person can be charged criminally. I think it's under section 327 of the Criminal Law Offences Act for perjury. So it is serious. It is serious. The officer conducting the inquiry has to be a sworn justice of the peace. There was an issue sometime years ago. People say, well, if you're not sworn, you can take a guilty plea. No, an inquiry. You cannot conduct an inquiry. And the inquiry starts when the person is made to plea. For the time the person pleads, so you don't know what plea the person is going to enter. So what happens? The person is paraded, and it used to happen this way, the person is paraded and the person says, well, they're not guilty. Then they send it to somebody else who can conduct the inquiry. And if the person pleads guilty, the person who is not an ex officio justice of the peace, but that was debated, that was discussed, and was deemed to be wrong. No less a person than the late, great Ian Chan commented on it and advised that it should not be. The person has to be an ex officio justice of the peace in order to conduct a disciplinary inquiry. So let's get that out of the way. Who can conduct a disciplinary inquiry? Now, there are parts of the old process that is very, what's the word? Wrong. Things change now, but I don't know if it has changed to the extent where people accept that some of the practice was wrong. Because what used to happen is that the person who was the defaulter, the person who committed the offense, used to be bullied and quick marching before the officer. That was truly quick march, left, right, halt, and bully, intimidation. It was intimidation. I remember a particular case, and somebody mentioned it last week. Terence mentioned it last week. You had in those days barroom liars. People like Morgan, 8443, I think was his number, Morgan the Pirate. You had Gavin Primo. Gavin's still around. You had this by Richardson. They were known barroom liars. In other words, when a person is charged and they want to be defended, and we're going to go into the who can defend you, they would get to those persons, and those persons will come and defend him. Until Morgan, back in the 70s, when this Police Discipline Act just came into being, Morgan, a constable was charged, and Morgan volunteered to defend him. He spoke to Morgan. Morgan volunteered to defend him. And when the person was paraded in front of a particular officer, I'll call him name, he's dead and gone. Well, I'll call him name, when the boss was part, this was at the TSU. He turned to the officer and he told him that he has a defaulter friend. Because that is what the person who represents the defaulter is known as in the law, a friend of the defaulter. So they said, all right, let the person come. When the person came, it was Morgan. Those men were liars, so they read the act and they knew the act and they knew the procedure. So when Morgan walked into the orderly room, the officer looked at Morgan and then he called out for a sergeant who was there, Sergeant Dennis. Sergeant Dennis, come look at this man, Morgan. Ear cut, he boots nasty. Morgan wasn't well kept. He always little raggedy. So Morgan was intimidated. Morgan ended up with about 2 or 3 charges for being dirty in person, that he heard him cut, he boots the dirty, and perhaps he was late for duty sometime. That what took place in those old days. I hope that the people now have moved away. Well, in any event, you don't even have trials now, so very few that you have. But those things are not to be tolerated. So the inquiry, you understand who can conduct an inquiry. Yes, Ulrich, Morgan was good. Morgan was a good barroom liar. He was a good barroom liar. Gavin Primer was a good liar too. We clashed. I was a presenting officer, and he came to represent someone. And the law says that the defaulter should have a friend, another member of the force from the same station, division, or branch to represent him. And I objected to Gavin's presence because I argued that Gavin was not from the same station, division, or branch from this rank or charge. And therefore, Gavin was disqualified from being a defaulter friend. And then he said, you better tell me how you frighten me. I was afraid of him. That is why I made the objection. But the law, I got to know the law. I got to dance. You got to know to dance, as I said. So we had some very good barroom liars indeed. Now, at the commencement of the trial, so we said, who can conduct the inquiry? And the question about the charge, someone asked this question during the course of the week. If more than one offenses can be named on the same charge, can be put on the same charge. And the answer to that is yes, provided it is the same default. And I will explain to you, I'm not reading verbatim what the law says, but I'm explaining to you what it says. It says that more than one charges, or I'll put it this way. It says that if a person is charged, he can have more than one charges put on the charge sheet. So, for example, what used to happen? And the number of charges is limited by the physical space of the charge sheet. Because the charge sheet is a legal size document, and with all the statement of offense, particular offense, there's a limited space for charges. But what used to happen is that if a person, let's say, has 3 charges for absent from duty, same section, 4N, absent from duty. So you'll have one statement, absent from duty contrary to section 4N, and then you list 3 different particulars that you on Monday were absent, you on Thursday were absent, and those can all on the one charge, and you do that. You do that. It will be difficult for you to have more than one charge on a different section on the charge sheet because of the space on the charge sheet. But what the law says that no more than one on the charge sheet should have one person only. So if John Jones is the defaulter, only John Jones can be placed on the charge sheet unless John Jones, together with others, are charged jointly for committing the same offense. I understand up to recently they get confusion in this thing. This thing is so clear. I mean, basic ABC thing I learned as a young officer. One person, that's what the law says, is one person only is named on the charge, unless person and others are charged jointly with the commission of an offense. And let me give you an example. As a whole depot dog, for those of you who know when we talk about the depot dog, we wore that as a badge of honor. The old TSU folks, we refer to ourselves as depot dogs. We knew depot, the TSU inside out. So when people refer to you as a depot dog, it's not a derogatory statement. They are bigging you up. So what happened? Depot is a place you always have men in the casino, especially at Mountain. And I'm sure you know when you talk about casino, what I'm referring to. You had the men who used to be the G-men, as they were referred to. The G-men. So you always have those people. And in that case, I remember charging some men for gambling or failing to report gambling in a police building. They were charged jointly. They were charged jointly. So in that case, more than one person is named on the particular charge. And I did that because at that time, when you read and you know the law, you knew how the law says that you should handle co-defendant and co-accused. They can't give evidence against each other, right? So you make sure you put all them together there. I understand that recently there's a bill to go to Parliament to change that. But you know how evidence against co-accused, and I learned that years ago, even though I was a depot dog, that jointly committed offense and one decide for rat out and the next one. That is evidence against himself. They say, well, is it he do it and it's me and he? That is evidence against issues here. Oh yeah, that is why in many cases you have to use one against the other. You have to use one against the other, because once you don't do that, you get difficulty in the admissibility of the evidence. So you do that. In that case, more than one person can be named on the charge. A next one that was very popular where you can put more than one person on the charge was the offense of permitting a prisoner to escape, neglect the duty, in that you, by carelessness or neglect, permitted a prisoner to escape. Sometimes two persons at custody of the prisoner escape, then you charge them jointly for permitting a prisoner to escape. And then the question was asked again about the actual inquiry. And I was disappointed to hear that people don't understand, people who police officers don't know, or at least they claim not to know, that in conducting the inquiry, people are saying that there is this big debate as to whether more than one person is charged separately. These persons are charged separately, whether you can have one inquiry to inquire into both charges. I said, no, that don't happen. If they're charged jointly, yes. But once you charge them separately, you gotta get separate inquiry. What could happen is that if one person is charged with more than one offenses stemming from the same set of circumstances, an application can be made by the presenting officer for the matters to be heard at the same time, concurrently. So you hold one inquiry, and then the facts relating to all the different offenses are revealed there and then, and nothing is wrong with that. But I don't know that you can have two persons charged separately and then you have both of them in the same inquiry and you're conducting one inquiry. I believe that is not permitted, but do your research and follow up. I am of the view, I don't know that can happen, but I don't think it can happen. But as I said, do your research and follow up. One person, you can have several charges. A person might, a report might be made, and when you do the investigation, you have 3 or 4 charges stemming from the same set of circumstances. So 3 different charges. And an application is made for all the charges to be heard at the same time, concurrently, right? So that is allowed. So that is the inquiry. Well, the inquiry itself, a question that was asked, and let me read the question. Somebody asked the question, who can, people ask, let me answer this one, who can represent you at a disciplinary inquiry? Now, the Police Act, I think is, let me pull it up, the section, I think it's 5 something, tells you that the 5.1 deals with the investigation, and then we go to the person who can deal with 6.1. 6.1 says that a member of the force who is charged with committing a disciplinary breach can have as a friend, another member of the force referred to as a friend of the defaulter to assist him with presenting his case. That is what the law says. And then it tells you the rank structure of the friend. It says that if the person is at the rank of sergeant and above, the friend of the defaulter must be of the same rank. So if a sergeant is the defaulter, and this is the term we use, so forgive me, that is the term used in law. They use the law, they call defaulter, he's not a defendant, he's a defaulter. You don't have a prosecutor, you have a presenting officer. Those are the terms that the law says should be used. So it says that if the person is of the rank of sergeant and above, then the friend must be of the same rank as the person who is alleged to have committed the offense, a defaulter. Understand this. So if a sergeant commits himself, he can have another member of the force as a sergeant. Can't have an inspector, he can't have anyone junior. Inspector, same thing. Chief inspector, same thing, so on and so on. Now, if the rank who is alleged to have committed the offense is a constable, they say that he can have another constable, he can have a lance corporal, he can have a corporal, he can have up to a sergeant to represent him. If the person is a lance corporal, no junior rank can represent you, so you can have a constable, you can have another lance corporal, a corporal or a sergeant. If the person is a corporal, you can have another corporal or a sergeant. And as I've said before, if it's a sergeant, then the person to represent must be of the same rank. So let's understand it clearly. That is what it says. And then the question is asked, can you have legal representation? In other words, can a lawyer come to the inquiry and represent you? And the short answer to that is no. And then the question is asked, why not? Well, the law says who can represent you. And the people have advanced the argument, and I support this argument, that in serious cases, especially cases where the charge is endorsed. Remember last week I told you about the endorsement of the charge in serious cases where the charge is endorsed and it says to you that if you're found guilty, your dismissal from the force may be considered as if you're a constable. And if you have rank, if you have from lance corporal up, it says that your reduction in rank or your dismissal from the force may be considered. And people are of the view that if the matter is serious enough to warrant an endorsement, then you should be permitted to have legal representation. It happens in other jurisdictions. In other jurisdictions, you're charged departmentally, and you can go and get an attorney at law to come to the disciplinary inquiry and represent you. But as I've indicated before, in Guyana, where people don't even know to conduct a disciplinary inquiry, I guess people, they're going to resist that. They're going to resist that because they're going to get skin up, as we would normally say. And they prefer to continue with what we call the cowboy attitude. The cowboy attitude. No due process, no fairness. Just use the rank, use the bully pulpit and bully the rank. But you can't develop as a force. You can't talk about integrity and respect and professionalism when you're treating your own in that manner. So if a person is charged, there should be allowed due process. And while the law now does not allow for an attorney to come to the inquiry and to represent you, I believe that those things should be addressed. So like the police association, who they're doing political work, they should be the ones to be advocating changes like this. They should be the ones to be advocating that. So you have the inquiry, and the sequence of events of the inquiry takes the form as prescribed in the Summary Jurisdiction Process Act, where witnesses are called, they're sworn in, they're examined, they're cross-examined, and they're re-examined. So that is a process that goes through until it comes to an end. And that. Now the next part, once the inquiry is finished, is we talk about punishment. We talk about punishment. What punishment? Now the law spells out the form of punishment. It talks about admonition. It talks about reprimand, severe reprimand. It speaks about confinement to barracks and drill in this modern days. Confinement to barracks and drill with drills. It talks about extra duty. It talks about persons being fined. Take away your money then. And when we deal with confinement to barracks, the commissioner can confine you to barracks with drill, with or without drill, for up to 28 days on any one charge. The commissioner of police can fine you up to 10 days pay on any one charge. And I understand there have been instances, recent instances, where those things happen. Now, the law allows the commissioner to delegate the authority, and the commissioner, over the years, I think it was Mr. Fraser, delegated the authority to divisional and branch commanders, as long as you have the rank of superintendent, to award punishment. So we're going to talk a little while. There's no time running out, but I'm going to go over a little to close off this part. It speaks about the disciplinary authority, right? So they can award, but in delegating the authority, the commissioner said, look, when it comes to days pay, the disciplinary authority, if you're not the commissioner, cannot find more than 5 days pay on any one charge. You cannot confine a person to more than 14 days confinement to barracks with drill or any one charge. And the commissioner reserves for himself the right to demote a rank and to dismiss. So no disciplinary authority other than the commissioner, in the case of sergeants down, can dismiss or reduce in rank. In the case of inspector up, the disciplinary authority in that case is the Police Service Commission. So people can be fined, and I understand that up to day like today, as people say, this hard guava season, people are being fined willy-nilly 2 days pay, 3 days pay, 5 days pay. And we talk about corruption. Now, when you find a man 10 days pay, 5 days pay, and all of that, man with family to maintain, you're taking that out of his already meager salary. How would he survive? How would he survive? I am not here advocating corruption or dishonesty. As I said, speaking out, I am exposing corruption. I have a reputation when I was in the force, or I had when I was in the force, and still have, that I don't export with corrupt people. They can't bring the nonsense to me. Policemen found to be corrupt, charged and placed before the court. The records are there. So many times when you see these people come and ask what you did when you were there, check the records. Don't ask me, go and check the records. Don't be intellectually lazy. Check to see. And people knew that. Ranks knew that, working with me knew that if you are found to be dishonest or corrupt, you're going to face the full brunt of the law. Policemen went to jail. Policemen got dismissed. So don't come, according to one particular one, don't come to me funny, right? So that happens on today like today. And I have said a long time that needs to be looked at. You can't be taking away 10 days pay from a man, 5 days pay, even 1 day pay. You should not be taken away. There should be alternative forms of punishment. You can be taking away money from a man, especially when you already start at a very low level. So the punishment is there, and the persons who can award the punishment, as I indicated before, we have the commissioner, who is the disciplinary authority, and the commissioner delegated the authority to divisional branch commanders as long as you have the rank of superintendent and above. So if you are a branch commander, as I was as a deputy superintendent, you're not a disciplinary authority. So when I became in charge of the TSU, I was a deputy superintendent. I could not award punishment. I had to send it through to the 2IC ops who had the appropriate rank. And while in the same position, I was promoted to superintendent. I then had the authority to award punishment, which I did. So you have to be the rank of a superintendent. And when you are in the rank of a superintendent, you have to be a divisional or branch commander. If you're not a divisional or branch commander, you are not a disciplinary authority. Example again. When I was in charge of West Demerara as a superintendent, I was transferred. Well, when I was in charge, I was a disciplinary authority. I was transferred from West Demerara. I went to traffic. I went to Presidential Guard. And then I went back to West Demerara as a 2IC to Luknath Singh, senior superintendent. I left there as a superintendent, went back there as a superintendent. And remember, when I left there as a superintendent, I was the commander. So I was the disciplinary authority. When I went back there as a senior superintendent, I was the second in command to Luknath Singh. I was not the disciplinary authority. So it's not all about the rank, it's about the appointment. You have to be the divisional or branch commander. So in the first instance, once the division or branch commander award punishment at that level of the disciplinary authority, the rank can appeal to the commissioner. That's the other level. The rank can appeal to the commissioner. And if the commissioner awards punishment and the rank does not find favor, the rank can then appeal to the Police Service Commission. So again, the function of the Police Service Commission, and I know you're going to have a Police Service Commission sometime. I hope they understand these things, that it is not only promotion and discipline, but there are also the disciplinary authority, now not only for inspectors to assistant commissioners, there are also the disciplinary authority for other ranks, junior ranks as well, because and that's what the Constitution says, that's what the law says. Because if a constable is awarded punishment by the Commissioner of Police, the constable can appeal to the Police Service Commission. And then the Police Service Commission is the final stop in the appeal process, so that if you're not satisfied, well, there's a small technicality that if the decision is made by the majority of the Police Service Commission, that's it. If the majority makes the decision, that's it, the end of the appeal process. If the decision was made by a minority, then you can appeal to the majority. That's what the law says again. It's not me saying so, And don't vex with me because I read the law and I'm trying to explain to you. You can read too. And if you have comprehension, look, my fans, I'm not running you down, I'm not abusing you out. But we know you got one, amphibians, and people who are described as other names on the program. So it's them I'm referring to. Not you, my loyal followers. I'm not referring to you. I'm referring to those who come to listen, to find something being said, and that they could say that they are emotionally stressed and all that crap. So they're the ones that I'm referring to, that they can go and read to, if they can read, or if they can comprehend and understand. So that is how the appeal process and the force works. And again, I want to say, it is sad that a lot of ranks, people with stripes on there, do not understand the process. I referred on several occasions to the man, and the reason why I'm referring to this, and I will continue to refer to it, because it pains me to know that a man's future is being curtailed, is being affected because of the vindictive and ignorance of a man who had the authority as a disciplinary authority. And I'm referring to the sergeant who was convicted when there was no evidence. No evidence. The man is alleged to have neglected his duty, and investigation was done. The man is charged. The virtual complainant, the person who made the complaint, refused to go to the inquiry to give the evidence. The young officer inquiring quite correctly says that based on that, no prima facie case, no case for the man to answer. He recommend to the commander that the matter should be dismissed. In light of all of that, the commander found the man, a sergeant, found him guilty and fined him 1 day's pay. And again, I talk about knowledge and lack of knowledge. The sergeant accepted that. Wrong, illegal. Commander had no authority to do so. And the sergeant should have appealed the matter to the Commissioner of Police. And if he wasn't satisfied with how the Commissioner of Police handled the matter, he should have or could have appealed to the Police Service Commission. That is how the process works. I spent 3 years as the chairman of the Police Service Commission. I did not see a single appeal. Not a single appeal. Because people don't know the process. People don't know the rights. And that is why I am using this platform to try to enlighten and to try to educate those who want to be enlightened and those who want to be educated. So the process is there. The police discipline process, the process is there. The problem is, one of the major problems is that there's this breakdown in discipline. So ranks commit themselves. Forces don't know to try an inquiry. And even the few who try, as somebody say, cowboy, railroad the people them. Now you can't operate a professional system like that. You cannot operate a professional system like that. One of the questions too that was asked last week is that whether they said, can the person or rank preparing the charge sheet give evidence in the matter? Yes, they can, depending on the nature of the evidence. Because in most times the person preparing the charge is the sergeant or the inspector there. They prepare and they solve the charge, and they are expected to give what you call formal evidence. In other words, he will come to say, if he was the investigator, he investigated his report submitted, blah, blah, blah. He solved the notice on the defaulter. At some stage, he solved the charge sheet on the default. There's formal evidence. But if he is, and he is used here to mean she, if he or she is a material witness in the matter, then there should not be be the presenting officer as well. That is not fair. That is not fair. We talk about transparency. We're talking about fairness. We talk about the rule of law. A particular politician likes to use that phrase: the rule of law must be maintained, must be followed, right? And then he did say that in a society governed, there's no place for people like me and others in a society governed by the rule of law. They like to talk about the rule of law. So I am saying to you that if the person has to give evidence, material evidence in the inquiry, then that person should only be given evidence and nothing more. Same thing with the officer conducting the inquiry. The officer conducting the inquiry in fairness and transparency, he should not be the one who made the report. He should not be the one who caused the charge to be instituted. You can't be a judge in your own cause. He should recuse himself. And however, let me caution, I've had this experience where you are there, you know nothing about the matter. You the officer don't know anything about the matter. But these bright police, they come and they know that you don't mix matters, so they come and object to you inquiring into the matter. They come and they object to you inquiring into the matter. And then when you ask, well, what are your grounds for the objections? Just object doesn't mean that you have to recuse yourself. They have to advance grounds as to why they feel that you, the officer, should not conduct the inquiry. And I say this to the young officers and all those who are listening, that if the grounds are cogent grounds, if the grounds are reasonable grounds, you should recuse yourself. It's fairness we're talking about. We're talking about fairness. To those officers as well, let me remind you that when you're conducting an inquiry, you're not a magistrate. I hear all sorts of terms and all sorts of things being used. You're not a magistrate. You're conducting a disciplinary inquiry. And my mentor, Francis Duncan Clark, taught me that when you're conducting an inquiry, you're seeking into the truth. You're seeking into the truth. And I dare say, if you look at the court process, a magistrate really not necessarily seeking into the truth. The magistrate is dealing with what evidence is presented by the prosecution. So let me you understand the distinction. So when you sit down there to conduct an inquiry, you have the authority to summon witnesses, and the Police Act says that, the Police Discipline Act. The magistrate can call witnesses on behalf of the prosecution. The magistrate is not going to call witnesses on behalf of the defendant. But you, as the officer conducting the inquiry, have a responsibility, a duty to call witnesses on behalf of the prosecution, on behalf of the defaulter, or on behalf of the presenting officer, not the prosecution, as I indicated. These are the terms that are used. So let me, our next example, to clarify that. A constable is charged. I use a call anybody for that matter. Let me say for absent from duty. And he tells you at the inquiry that, look, sir, I wasn't absent. He calls some officer name who gave him time to be away. You have a responsibility to call that officer before the inquiry to find out whether they so or not. You have that responsibility, you have that duty. So don't sit there and believe you're a magistrate and just whatever evidence the presenting officer presents, you're going to rule on that. If you see the matter is going in a particular way, you have a duty and a responsibility to call witnesses to clarify. And that is a big difference with a trial at the magistrate court and you conducting a disciplinary inquiry. You are seeking into the truth. You are seeking into the truth. So don't sit there and believe you are a magistrate. You are not. The rules, even though you are encouraged to follow the Summary Jurisdiction Procedure Act, even though you are encouraged to follow, and Summary Jurisdiction Procedure is 1002, for those of you who are want to go and pick it up and follow. For those of you who want to, rules of evidence you have to follow, so you get Evidence Act 503 to understand what is admissible, what is inadmissible evidence, and that type of thing. You have to know these things. You have to know these things. So don't sit there and tell yourself you're a magistrate just whatever evidence is presented by the presenting officer. No, you have a larger role to play to make sure that fairness prevails at the disciplinary inquiry. I think I have touched on all well, there are lots more dealing with a disciplinary inquiry, but those are the points that I've made based on the questions that have been asked and some of the issues that have been raised. So I think I'll stop there this morning, and I hope that you have found it interesting. From the comments, I know that some comments people have said that they have found it interesting, and send your questions. I'm going to go through the comments. I'm going to make a note of your questions and respond to them on a future program. But I want to again encourage you as as I close to tell you, the COVID talk. COVID is real. COVID is still with us. The cases are encouragingly low. Let's hope that with all of these mass activities we had over the Easter weekend, we do not see a dramatic rise in the cases. So continue to be safe. Continue to look out for others. Continue to be safe on the roads. Continue to be safe on the roads. I mean, it's madness on the roads in Guyana. It's madness. Madness on the roads. And again, I want to urge the traffic chief to make sure that these very critical issues relating to how people use the road are focused on. And forget about the man who vending at the street corner, because up to now, I don't think we have had any accident involving those people. It can be an annoyance. It can be very annoying. Squeegee men coming out to rob your windscreen with some dirty water. People coming to peddle stuff. It can be annoying. People begging and so on. Or you look at some of the people begging, anybody with a kind heart. Up to the other day pass, I had to stop and give a man a raise because he looked like he's in need of a raise. So don't let's focus on the things that are not that critical. You have to prioritize and let's address the critical stuff. So again, I want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. I know that you have taken time off. Some of you have other things to do. You could have been elsewhere. But you have chosen to listen to me this morning. And remember, this program is on YouTube on the same page. So for those people who did not get to see the live, tell them they can go on YouTube and they can look at it. You too, if you want to look at anything, you want to clarify anything that you might have missed, you can go back there and you can look at it. And God's willing, next Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we'll be here once again speaking out, exposing corruption and incompetence. For now, bye. Have a good rest of the day and a good week ahead. Bye for now.